Still with me. You are tenacious, my friend. I respect that. I respect that. And I'm excited to keep going. Okay, so we have our trigger set up. This is good. Now we can move on to connecting our first module. So what I want you to do is always save, even when I'm not saving. Never forget to save. If you close that tab and you didn't save, it's gone. It's not coming back. Remember, this is a browser. It's not software on your computer that's taking snapshots. It's a browser. It's not taking snapshots, unfortunately. You will lose your data. So save, save, save. And after you save, you want to hit this plus button. And this is a big deal because we're going to actually bring in our AI agents. So you want to move down to advanced AI, this beautiful new feature, new and shiny. And from here, we want to have an AI agent. Okay. This AI agent essentially is going to be different than a lot of the other nodes that you work with in N8N or have in the past, because notice how it's not just a one function node with an input, some parameters, and an output that's connected to a service or a webhook. This actually is for tools and for building an AI agent system. So it comes with 4 connections. You have the connection for the brain or the chat model or LLM, the memory, the tool, and then that output. Where is it going to? What's it going to do with this information? Or once it's done with its action. All right. So bearing that in mind, let's look at chat model in this lesson. Chat model is what connects the LLM, the large language model. Large language models, they're basically what powers all of this AI agentic flow. ChatGPT works off a large language model. It's artificial intelligence that generates human language, essentially. And it uses a combination of deep learning, the transformers, which are incredible, these vast data sets, basically everything on the internet and more, and then all sorts of special key characteristics, each one that's out there, from DeepSeek to OpenAI to Gemini, Perplexity. They all have their special versatilities, right? But think of the LLMs as, in terms of NLP, natural language processing, a way to generate human-like text. They produce coherent and contextually, very important word, context, contextually relevant responses to your prompts, right? To what we type in. I'm sure you've used ChatGPT by now, or you wouldn't be in this course. So an AI agent is not going to do very much intelligently if it doesn't have a brain, right? That's the fun Dorothy version of what I just said. So you want to click on this plus button under chat model. And here we have lots of different seamless integrations. This is basically handling all the code for us. All we have to do is select the one we want. We got Anthropic, which is amazing. Google Gemini. You can make your own if it's not there, but we're going to use OpenAI. Not make your own LLM. I mean, you could do that, but I mean, connect your own service. So here, it's the same process as before. We need to connect the credential. I already have my credential, but you're going to have to create a new credential. And this time it's a lot more simple, because thank the heavens it's not Facebook. All we really need is the API key. Now, where do we get the API key? I'm going to close this for a second. To get your API key, you have to go into the developer version of OpenAI, just like we went into the developer version of Facebook. And the URL is platform as the base. So platform.openai.com. You want to basically set up your account. It's not the same as ChatGPT, right? This is the API section of it. So you want to put in your email, make an account, pause the video, and once you do that, you're going to be logged in to the portal for developers. And if you click on settings on the top right, you're going to see that you can access now on the left an API keys. And you want to click on that. And I have a bunch of keys here. You want to, from here, basically create a new secret key. You can name it so you remember it. So name it something like WhatsApp bot key. It's up to you, but it's good to do that. Create the secret key, copy it on your clipboard, save it. Do not share it ever with anybody. All right. Make sure in your billing, by the way, because you're going to get paid. You're going to have to pay every time it gets called. If it's a new account, I think you get a couple of free ones, but after that, you're going to be charged. So you can add like $4 or $5, a couple bucks. So you have plenty. I got $10 in here. That's so many calls, all right? But it's good to have that topped up if you want to add a few bucks into it. I still think you're going to get more than enough free ones if you're doing this for the first time. But copy that API, then head back over here to our N8N, and you want to create that new credential, paste in the API, click save. I'm not going to do that because I already have mine, and you should be connected. All right, beautiful. Let's save this. And oops, I want to make sure that I have my credential here. Okay, and we'll run save. And you should see no errors in terms of access credentials. Beautiful. And that's it, guys. Much more simpler than our Facebook escapades. We now have connected from our AI agents tool the OpenAI chat model brain. And by the way, I should mention the model to select. It's going to give you a default model. There's different models that operate with various parameters, which means that they can move faster if they're compressed, or they'll take more time if you're using them. And it's pros and cons. You'll get a better response if you're working with more weights and values than less. So the mini version is going to be faster, but it won't be as good as 4. But 4 is really fast. I would switch it to 4, and we can keep it like that for now. We don't have to overcomplicate that aspect of the various types of models. That's good for now. Click save, guys. Easy win. Now we've hooked up the business side and the developer side of our trigger from WhatsApp, and we have a brain in our agent. We now need to hook up some memory, and from there we can move on forward to hooking up the rest of the business and developer side, because there is more to do to really get the flow working. We'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye. Folgers in your cup. Hey guys, okay. So I'm drinking incredible instant coffee, Folgers coffee. No, I'm not sponsored by them, and it's actually not incredible at all. Okay, but I'm drinking coffee and it's time to continue. Let's continue. I hope you guys are excited, because now that we have the LLM hooked up into the AI agent, the next step is to give it some memory. What's the point of having a brain if you can't remember anything? What was I just talking about? Exactly. Okay, so we want to click. Okay, so we want to click on memory. Thanks for bearing with my sense or my lack of sense of humor. Okay, when you click on memory, we have many different options. All right, memory cannot just be integrated one way. There are ways where we can seamlessly integrate databases and store it with Postgres. If you're not familiar with Postgres, fantastic database option. You got Redis to give you further control. So these are very popular choice integrations to not only use memory and hook it up. And by memory, we mean, of course, the chat history, the memory of the chat history of the LLM into database, store it through there. But by default, what N8N does is it allows us to store N8N memory into the session ID, into the browser. So you don't even need any credentials for Postgres or whatever. And this can be very, very powerful, as we're going to see. So we're going to click on the easiest method. When we do this, we see that we get the session ID connected chat trigger node. So that's saying connected to the chat trigger node, but that's not what we want. What we want is not just the session key from the session ID. We want to grab our window memory buffer from specifically this WhatsApp trigger. I want to change the context. Instead of it remembering all of this stuff, it's just going to remember what the messages were. Then it can take that context window and be much more specific towards the conversation that we're going to have on WhatsApp. So how can we do that? Well, we can switch from session key to pointing it essentially to the WhatsApp ID that's going to be coming from our WhatsApp trigger. Now that might all sound confusing, but it's going to be very clear, and you'll realize how simple it really is once it's working. I want to present it this way first because we're moving the flow from one point to another. So it is something intuitively that maybe you would try to do after, but I want to show you it now because I'm teaching. I don't just want to go step by step. I do want to teach this to you. So I want you to switch the session ID from connected chat trigger node to define below. And it's okay if this is confusing for now. It will make sense. And the key, which is basically what we're using to store the session ID in memory, we want to switch it out from a fixed position to the expression of the messages that we're receiving from our WhatsApp trigger. We can do this using JavaScript. We enter JSON notation, which is JavaScript object notation. These are objects, and that's all a bunch of jargon to say that all the information being passed through the internet in different packets of data can be interpreted in various formats. And a very accessible human readable format is JSON. It's still in code format, but we could read it better than a lot of other ways. And in order to access that, and when we do that, notice how it's going to give us options above. It already says, hey, are you trying to access the earlier node, which is WhatsApp trigger? So we want to click on that, yes. But specifically from WhatsApp trigger, what we care about is the WhatsApp ID. In order to get that, we want to type in item, and it's going to be item JSON dot contacts, and then we want the first index, and in computer science 0 is often the first index, so we put in 0 dot WA underscore ID. All right, and that is the only code we're going to be writing for this whole WhatsApp AI agent, one line. And this is something that we could get after, but I want to show it to you now, and we're going to come back to it. You want to hit enter. All right, and it's going to be red. You're going to say it'll be red for now and say result is undefined because we're not yet passing anything into it. That's okay. And the contacts window length now is going to be coming from that contact, so we can switch the length to, let's say, the past 10 messages. We want to do that, and we can go ahead and just close and save. And now when we test the workflow, we're going to see that we're waiting for a trigger event. And let me ask you something. What are we waiting for? What trigger event? So now I'm asking you something. The tables have turned. I want you to think about it though. Hopefully you understand what that is. If not, take a second and think. What is the trigger? The trigger is the message, right? And we haven't set up the message yet, right? If we go to our WhatsApp, if you go on your phone, if you were to open your phone and go into WhatsApp or go to your desktop, you're not going to see this number here and this box because we haven't created it yet. It's waiting for that trigger event. Because it doesn't exist, we can't access that data. So we want to stop the trigger event for now, end it. I was just proving a point. Don't need it to be working right now. Look at me trying to prove points and all. This is good, guys. This is where we want to be. This is the next step. This is where we're heading, my friends. I know there's a little bit of coding jargon, but that's okay. That's not a bad thing. That's you learning what's actually happening under the hood. In the next lesson, let's go ahead and set up our AI agent so that it actually can receive a trigger event. And then we can really play with this window buffer memory and not have it like this weird abstract type of code, but something actually tangible that makes sense to you, okay? I'm very excited because we're almost past all the annoying hurdles of authentication. We do have to go back into the Death Star of the Facebook business developer complicated system. But you know what? Charge up your mental lasers. Get ready to take out some stormtroopers and level up. I'll see you in the next lesson. There's only one way to go forward, guys, and that's full steam ahead. I'll see you there whenever you're ready. Don't forget to save. Catch you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.